Elon Musk may get to be dictator of Tesla, but he doesn't, and he may try to play dictator here in Washington, D.C., but he doesn't get to shut down the Agency for International Development.
How about the President of the United States? Does the President of the United States get to do that? Because Elon Musk is his envoy in this discussion, and I think the President of the United States does get to do that, and I'll explain why you maroon. That was Democrat Chris Van Hollen. They don't know much about government, these people. They can be House members, they can be senators, they can be governors, they can be senior White House correspondents, and it's amazing how little they can know. Well, good Tuesday to you, and welcome back. We remain at 888-630-9625. And President Trump, big wins with Mexico and Canada yesterday. China picking a little bit of a fight. They just want to talk. President Trump will deal with them in no time at all. You've seen country after country capitulate. El Salvador is now begging not only to take MS-13 gang members from El Salvador and surrounding environs, but also Tren de Aragua gang members from Venezuela. Then the president of El Salvador, a little commie, said that he'll even take criminals, American criminals, from U.S. prisons if you just pay us money to take U.S. criminals from U.S. prisons. Remarkable stuff. So El Salvador buckled and rolled right up. Mexico caved right away. The Canadians, they gave President Trump what he wanted, and now talks are ongoing. Panama has caved when Marco Rubio, we have an actual Secretary of State now, unlike during the Biden years. And in Panama, the president of Panama said, yeah, you're right. We don't want to turn everything over to communist China. We're going to help out the United States. It's the Monroe Doctrine, having life breathed back into its lungs. Remarkable. Venezuela then caved. They said, you can't fly plane loads of illegal aliens from Venezuela back to Venezuela just because you found them in the streets of the United States. And Trump had a talk with them, and they said, please fly illegal alien gang members from Venezuela back into Venezuela. In fact, would you like to use my plane? Because you can use my plane if you'd like, because they're dealing with Trump now. Just amazing, amazing things going on. So we had Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, Canada, Panama, all capitulating to Trump. And if he didn't move them 100% to where he wanted them, he certainly moved them 90% or 95% to where he wants them. Isn't that amazing? President Trump also filled up the reservoirs in California again. So if more arsonists come along and start burning down neighborhoods of multi-million-dollar homes, maybe this time water will come out of the fire hydrants, not because of Gavin Newsom, thank you very much, Mr. Hair Gel, but because of President Trump. Isn't that amazing? Also, President Trump has announced that we, the federal taxpayer, will no longer fund gender transformations for children. And boy, the Democrats are furious about that. In fact, who's the idiot there? One of the Democrat idiots says, well, we're going to pay for it here on a state level. Okay, you keep genital mutilation alive locally. Amazing stuff. But also, I love Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for hearings, putting PBS, the Panhandler Broadcasting System, and NPR, National Panhandler Radio, putting them in the dock and having them explain their systemic bias, because I think that would be a good thing to do. There's a hearing on Capitol Hill today, a couple of hearings on Capitol Hill today, confirmation hearings, one for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was another one that was a Democrat until about 30 minutes ago. And then he came to his senses, and he wants to, and we should listen to what he has to say. He might be wrong about some things, but we've got health issues in the United States of America. We don't stack up very well compared to a lot of other countries, and we don't stack up well compared to our own country just a handful of years ago. And so we should be looking at that. And Democrats are trying to lynch him, trying to assassinate his character, because these people. And Tulsi Gabbard, also for Director of National Intelligence, confirmation hearing today. Another former Democrat. She was a Democrat member of the House of Representatives. The Democrat Party is burning and sinking at sea, and I don't think they're salvageable, nor do I think they should be salvaged, because they don't deserve to be saved. But with that said, I want to go to this USAID stuff, the U.S. Agency for International Development. And turns out last night doing the show at Newsmax, the television show at Newsmax, and one of our regular great panelists, Matt Foldy, who's just great, and he's hilarious, and he's couldn't be more fun. And he's 20-something years old and smart as, well, a lot smarter than the average member of the House of Representatives. I don't want to insult him. Smarter than the average member of the Senate, too, because it's not as highbrow as it once was either. But Matthew Foldy's mother was the number two person at the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. Some just call it USAID because it spells it out. Everything has to be an acronym and an abbreviation in Washington. But I didn't know that, and that's fun. And she is a great American and was doing great work, because you can do great things with the U.S. Agency for International Development. But the Democrats have corrupted the heck out of it, completely berserk. And let me share with you just a couple of things, and then I'll explain how the Democrats are lying about everything, as always. The White House, under Donald Trump, put out a statement February 3rd, 2025, that's yesterday, at USAID, waste and abuse runs deep. For decades, the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, some people call it, I've always called it USAID, but that's me. USAID is fine, just for purposes of discussion. USAID has been unaccountable to taxpayers as it funnels massive sums of money to the ridiculous and, in many cases, malicious pet projects of entrenched bureaucrats with next to no oversight. You know, the Congress, they just put these things in an omnibus, and then they vote for everything at once and act like, woo, boy, good thing we saved Christmas. No government shutdown. Oh, shut the government down and shut up. All right. So the White House put out a list yesterday. Here are only a few examples of the waste and abuse. And on the White House page, 1.5 million American taxpayer dollars to, listen to this now, quote, advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. Because, you know, the one thing that Serbia needs is more diversity, equity, and inclusion. $70,000 for production of a DEI musical in Ireland. You know, the Irish have never needed any help in coming up with musicals. For the last 1,000 years or so, they've been coming up with the great musicals on their own. Leave them alone. 2.5 million American taxpayer dollars for electric vehicles for Vietnam. Love Vietnam, been to Vietnam, know a lot of Vietnamese Americans. Vietnam is wonderful. See Hung Cao, Democrats should have voted him into the Senate, but they didn't because they're racists and they're still losing the Vietnam War. So 2.5 million of our dollars. Now, think about how much you pay over the course of your lifetime into the federal coffers, and how many people in America it takes working their entire lifetimes to pay for the $2.5 million for electric vehicles for Vietnam, like they can't afford electric vehicles in Vietnam. They make all of the batteries and stuff with slave labor in China next door because of communism. Democrats love slavery from communist China to open borders here. Who do you think's cutting your lawns and cleaning the dishes in the back of your restaurant? I don't know, slaves? The party of slavery and Jim Crow and Jefferson Davis. Amazing stuff. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. If Colombia wants to have a transgender opera, they should pay for it themselves. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. Peru, Peruvian transgender, Colombian transgender. Really, this is all the Democrat Party. They're screwed up in the head when it comes to gender and sex like never before. Honestly, Caligula's court was comparatively normal compared to today's Democrat Party in the Roman Empire, you know. So the transgender opera in Colombia, transgender comic book in Peru, $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. Guatemala. It has to be pronounced like that because they pay extra for that. So there we got transgender, LGBT. We got Colombia, Peru, Guatemala. They're going down there to play duck, duck, goose, aren't they? $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. Not enough tourism in Egypt? If only they had something to visit. Isn't that amazing? I've been to the pyramids and the Sphinx and the Suez Canal and a lot of great stuff, and there's more, too, to see. You got the mighty Nile River and all kinds of great things, too. Great friends of ours did a ship cruise on an old wooden ship down the Nile River, stopping at all the historic sites. I don't think they need us to pay $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt unless you're buying me and my best girl trips there. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for a nonprofit linked to, listen to this, designated terrorist organizations. I'm sorry, what? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is what the Democrats are spending your money and my money on and your children's money on. Even after an inspector general launched an investigation into USAID spending money to fund nonprofit linked to designated terrorist groups. But Joe Biden and the Democrats, they said the Houthis are not terrorists, right? But they are, and they're firing at U.S. ships as they're sailing by Yemen. And the Democrats are like, let's take them off of their list of terrorists because, you know, who's a bigger bunch of terrorists than the Democrat Party? Millions of dollars to Eco Health Alliance. Remember them? Millions of dollars to Eco Health Alliance. You remember who they are? They were involved in the research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, thanks to Dr. Anthony Fauci, who should have his medical license stripped. But they're still funding the Eco Health Alliance, even though they were in the middle of the gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology that led to, they say, the deaths of more than 7 million people around the world, including more than 1 million people in the United States of America. And the left shrugs and says, you know, 1 million here, 1 million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real results, the way they see it. Man, oh man. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for meals that went to Al-Qaeda-affiliated fighters in Syria. We're feeding Al-Qaeda in Syria through USAID. Funding to, I love this one, funding to print personalized contraceptives, right? Birth control devices in developing countries. Personalized, because you want your name on it. You don't want to be whipping out somebody else's diaphragm. Oh, no, did I use your diaphragm again? This is embarrassing. So they've got personalized contraceptive devices in developing countries. Hundreds of millions of dollars, listen now, hundreds of millions of dollars to fund irrigation canals, farming equipment, and even fertilizer used to support the unprecedented poppy cultivation and heroin production in Afghanistan, benefiting the Taliban. This is where our USAID money is going. And the Democrats will fight you hammer and sickle to keep this stream of money going. They're very, very angry, like Marvin the Martian. And I've got a bunch more on this coming up because it's almost impossible to believe, yet it's true. Womp, womp, womp. Well, listen, whether you're standing long hours every day or running errands around town, you know, picking up the kids, going to the grocery store, you shouldn't have to deal with foot pain and knee pain, leading to back pain in some cases, too. That's where G-Defy shoes come in. G-Defy shoes help to relieve occasional pain or discomfort caused by walking, running, prolonged standing because of work and family and stuff. The shoes are built with VersaShock technology. G-Defy shoes help to absorb harmful shock under your arches, right? And return energy with every step. My best girl and I, they sent us G-Defy shoes, and we hike around the city. I've told you about them, and your feet feel better after your hike than they felt before your hike. Hiking around the city, and here's the deal right now. You can save 50% off, half off, your order of $120 or more by texting Chris to 91888. Or you can go to Al Gore's Amazing Internet to gdefy.com and use the code Chris right there to save 50%. CHRIS, traditional Western spelling. That's half off shoes designed for real people working real jobs and living real lives. Message and data rates may apply. Yes, sir. All right, yeah, so that's USAID. And wait till you hear the Democrats defending USAID. Hundreds of millions for the Taliban to grow poppies to make heroin to kill people outside of Afghanistan, mostly, with the heroin overdoses. And the Democrats are fighting hammer and tong to keep the flow of money going. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, coming up, lickety-split, I've got dopey Democrats and Republicans responding on USAID, money to grow heroin in Afghanistan and help the Taliban, and lots of transgender children and things, which the Democrats are really obsessed with. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Matt, calling from Rockville, Maryland. Matthew, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing this morning?
Great, Matt. What do you know?
Well, first off, I don't understand why liberals and progressives want warm cocktails. I mean, we keep hearing they want to abolish ICE, and I just think that's crazy.
Bada boom.
But why I called was no one's saying that we have to turn off the spigots to all these crazy things. If Democrats want to donate to it, by all means, go ahead and donate your own money. But everyone's tax dollars should not be going to fund all of these stupid things. You know, we heard from them, my body, my choice. Well, my paycheck, my decision where the money goes, right? Donate your own money. Stop sending it to stupid stuff without my, any input from me.
That seems fair, but they're not interested in fair, are they, Matt?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, with them, it's heads I win, tails you lose. And they framed everything in the world to be some way to where you are in the wrong. If you wouldn't go to a surgeon with Parkinson's, then you're a bigot. And if you would, you're an idiot.
Yeah, they seem rather gratuitously disputatious, I think, would be a fair characterization of today's Democrat Party. And you're absolutely right. If they want to keep funding transgenderism in Rwanda, whatever they want to do, that should come out of their pockets. Maybe the money from NPR should go to that. Okay. We've got a lot of crazy Democrat stuff to get here. Now, I tell you, I was talking about the president of El Salvador, whose name is Nayib Armando Bukele Ortiz, right? But they just call him Bukele, I think. But is it Bukele? I like to say Bukele. Sounds a little African rather than Central American. And I was calling all the leaders in Central America, Latin America, commies. And I got pushback by a friend of mine. Say, he's not a commie. He's one of the good guys down there. He's throwing thousands, tens of thousands of gang members in prison and stuff. And you see these prisons they run, they run a tight ship there. So, okay, so just Mexico and Panama and Nicaragua and Venezuela and Colombia and the commies, they got these lefties down there all over the place. They seize power. And Bukele used to be a member of the FMLN, which is the Communist Party, literal Communist Party in Salvador. And they're in other parts of Central America, too. FMLN, aren't they? I guess they're Salvador. They're a rebel guerrilla group. But politics is a funny game. All right, so let's get to the talk about USAID, USAID, the agency, and the White House putting out a list of some of the things that they're paying for, including hundreds of millions of dollars to the Taliban to help them with irrigation canals and farming equipment and fertilizers so they can grow poppies from which they make heroin, which they ship out to the world. It's kind of like the French connection, but it's the Afghan connection, the Taliban connection. And the list is long, and it is ridiculous. Personalized contraceptives for developing countries because God knows. And millions more for the EcoHealth Alliance, which helped create the Wuhan Red Death out of Wuhan, China, at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Isn't that amazing? $6 million for tourism in Egypt, $2 million for LGBT, I assume they mean QQIAA activism in Guatemala. Transgender comic book in Peru will cost us $32,000. Transgender opera in Colombia will cost us $47,000. $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam. I'm guessing they're buying from an electric vehicle pal of the Democrat Party because that's how this Circle Fest works and how they all buy their beach houses. $70,000 for the production of a DEI musical in Ireland because there's not enough music in Ireland. $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia, in Serbia's workplaces because, all right? Now, Jamie Raskin, also known as the Lost Marx Brother, you got Groucho and Harpo and Chico, and then you got Zeppo, and then you got Jamie. And Jamie Raskin is a Democrat from Maryland. And they've got now, keeping in mind that Elon Musk was a Democrat Party man and a Democrat Party sponsor until one cycle ago. And then he really infuriated them because he stood up for free speech and he bought Twitter and changed the name to X. And that's really got them upset because they demand total information dominance and they threaten to imprison anyone that doesn't sing from their sheet music and put the shoulder behind their ox cart because, they're crooked as hell. So here's Democrat Congressman Jamie Raskin on the attack. Elon Musk is the target because Elon Musk and the DOJ, Department of Government Efficiency, the Democrats want the Department of Government excess. They want as much money being spent as possible, burned, bring the bulldozers in to push the burning mountain of money in front of the Capitol that these guys destroy every day. And so here's Jamie Raskin saying that Elon Musk, representing the President of the United States, can't touch USAID and their money for transgender operas and DEI musicals.
Elon Musk, you didn't create USAID. The United States Congress did for the American people.
Liar. Moron.
And just like Elon Musk did not create USAID, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are. We're going to stop him.
We are. We're going to stop him. He sounds a bit wan, doesn't he? Now, he's either a moron or a liar. You can take your pick. But the U.S. Agency for International Development was not created by Congress. It was created by executive order. November 3rd, 1961. Executive Order 10973. That's Executive Order 10973 by John F. Kennedy before he was shot in the head and killed by a communist or the CIA. You can take your pick there as well. So John F. Kennedy, Executive Order 10973, Administration of Foreign Assistance and Related Functions. The date from the presidency.ucsb.edu documents, executive order. That's University of California at Santa Barbara with their Kennedy files different than the CIA Kennedy files, which they still haven't made public. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 and Section 301, Title III of the United States Code, and as President of the United States, I hereby order as follows, and there it is, Part 1, Department of State will oversee the U.S. agency for it's USAID, for the administration of international aid, and John F. Kennedy created it by executive order, and therefore the Congress did not create it. Therefore, Jamie Raskin is a lion Sacagawea, or he's ignorant, yelling, pounding the table while wrong, often wrong but never in doubt, is Jamie Raskin. It was not created by the Congress. Therefore, the executive branch, by executive order, can undo John F. Kennedy's Executive Order 10973 of November 3rd, 1961, because that's what executive orders are. You maroon Jamie Raskin. So Jamie Raskin is an idiot. He's either a pathological liar, which would be perfectly plausible, or an ignorant moron, which would be perfectly plausible. So we'll have to sort that out later. But the President of the United States, by executive order, can undo another president's executive order. Thank you very much. If it had been passed by Congress, then it would take an act of Congress to undo U.S. Agency for International Development. But since it was created by executive order, it can be undone by presidential executive order. Now, you heard him attacking Elon Musk there, the smartest man in the world, an immigrant to the United States, the wealthiest man on the face of the earth, probably the Leonardo da Vinci of the 21st century, and the left is out to lynch him from a tree, as they have a long history of doing, racists that they are. Jamie Raskin continued.
Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury.
No, you didn't.
But you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does that.
I think he meant to say the American people, not the American people. You may have illegally seized power. He hasn't illegally done anything. Apparently they did send, he's got a bunch of young guys working for him, young guys and women working for him in the Doge. And a couple of them went to the Treasury Department, and apparently they didn't have the classified security clearance that they needed to see documents. But that's not why the documents were denied. That's not why they were denied access to the documents. They were denied access to the documents by a permanent apparatchik in the machine, a lifelong Treasury Department employee who obstructed, got in the way, and tried to prevent them from finding out what they wanted to find out, even though they're there representing the President of the United States. Now, if you got to have the classified clearance, then fine. Then give them the classified clearance. Do the background check and give them the clearance if these are the people you want going through the documents. But they're trying to prevent anything from, they're anti-progress in the name of being progressive, of course. And here he comes again, racist that he is, attacking African-American Elon Musk. That's right, he's from South Africa. Jamie Raskin attacking Elon Musk.
I don't know what Elon Musk's motivations are. I don't know what his purposes are, but they've got nothing to do with what has been lawfully adopted by the people of the United States of America through the Congress of the United States. We're going to defend USAID all the way.
Yay, and the crowd, they got like a crowd of morons. Yay, we have no idea what we're cheering, but we're just a gang of morons that parrot whatever the guy says like it's Monty Python. What Elon Musk is looking for is government efficiency. We're $36 trillion in debt. Maybe it's time we started tightening our sails down a little bit. Let's trim that jib and see if we can be more efficient. It's called the Department of Government Efficiency. That should help explain, Congressman Raskin, what they're doing there. I know you're anti-government efficiency because your fascist buddies are all getting rich and buying oceanfront houses and airplanes and boats with the money that you spread around. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is a radical extremist, anti-Semite, racist, anti-democratic, anti-capitalist, pro-jihad Democrat, perfectly mainstream Democrat, from the river to the sea, wipe the Jews off the face of the earth. That's Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan Omar, they come up with this stuff because of their mental issues.
We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are.
Yeah.
This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
It is?
When you gut the Constitution.
The Constitution.
And you install yourself as the sole power.
He was elected.
That is how dictators are made.
Actually, he was elected. Maybe you missed it. You might have been in a coma or a drug-induced trance, or maybe you were in prison or you were face down somewhere. But Ilhan Omar, we had a national election, and he won, and he became the President of the United States and the Chief Executive of the United States and the head of the executive branch of the United States, and that includes the Treasury Department. And by the way, USAID was created by executive order and not the Congress. I'm sure you're ignorant of that fact as well, because you're a profoundly ignorant individual. So we talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator, and then he comes in and he's doing what he ran on and what people voted for, presumably well-informed voters like myself. And here it is. He's a dictator, and it's the end of the Constitution. Now, you should be gassed, I think, at least tear-gassed. You know, we'll start with that, see where it goes from there. Senator Chris Van Hollen, a radical Democrat from Maryland, who's happy to be corrupt in all things Democrat. And here we go again. It's the same rhetoric.
Elon Musk may get to be dictator of Tesla, but he doesn't, and he may try to play dictator here in Washington, D.C.
What?
But he doesn't get to shut down the Agency for International Development.
Yeah, the Agency for International AID. That can't shut it down. Well, how about the President of the United States? Are they liars? Are they this stupid? Those are the only two possibilities, you know. There is, believe it or not, a dim-witted Democrat senator from Hawaii. Are you talking about Mazie Hirono, Chris? No, I'm talking about the other dim-witted Democrat senator from Hawaii, Brian Schatz. On the radio, it's important to say his name carefully and deliberately. Schatz. Is his name past tense, you're wondering? Brian Schatz is a Democrat from Hawaii, and he loves lots of government spending for transgender things in Serbia.
You cannot wave away an agency that you don't like or that you disagree with by executive order or by literally storming into the building taking over the servers.
Literally storming into the building and taking over the servers. It's the Treasury Department. It's next door to the White House. You walk in. There's a tunnel from the White House if you wish, or you can walk across East Executive Drive to the Treasury Department. There was no storming. There was no taking over the servers. They're saying, hey, we represent the President of the United States, who was just elected by the American people and won the popular vote in the Electoral College. He lives in the White House next door. We're here to take a look at spending. And listen to these frauds, these charlatans, and these shats. Do you think if I haven't looked up Brian Schatz, but if he's got kids, I bet that in their neighborhood they're known as the little shats. The little shats. Hey, here come the little shats. Oh, and look, there are the big shats. The big shats and the little shats are there. They are. You can't waive your agency that you. And what is it? An agency you disagree with? How can you disagree with an agency? Does an agency disagree with you? Is it a political entity or is it a government agency run by the executive branch and the President of the United States, who is Donald John Trump? And then we've got Democrat Senator Chris Murphy. He's from Delaware. These people.
Let's not pull any punches about why this is happening.
Punches, violence.
Elon Musk makes billions of dollars based off of his business with China.
Jealousy.
And China is cheering at this action today.
Yeah, China is cheering that USAID isn't spending because they want to spend money on transgender operas. And DEI. No, I don't think so. I don't think China You guys do everything for China all the time. Joe Biden did everything. Come on, the Chinese funneled millions to the Biden family coffers. This party couldn't be more sinister, more corrupt, if their goal were to become more sinister and more corrupt. I have the White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, coming up as well, and she is great. All right, now, they got Ilhan Omar. They've got a lot of radicals, a lot of extremists, and a lot of dimwits. Well, extremists like Ilhan Omar, and they got AOC. We're going to get to AOC, too. She's a maroon, which is not just a color. It's also a moron. And Jamie Raskin, these people, it was created by Congress. No, it wasn't. You can't undo it because it was created by Congress. No, it wasn't. That spending is ours, or transgenderism for the world. The whole world gets a steady diet of transgender or something or other. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, USAID, was brought up by the White House press secretary, the wonderful Caroline Levitt, who yesterday came out to the press, and they didn't have anything to say about it, and they didn't report on it because pretty much everything they report is a lie. It's almost amazing. The CNN people, and this is, I shared this with a number of former CNN colleagues this morning. Their big story today by a guy named Stephen Collinson, and he's not even an American. And the headline is, "In the face of trade war with America's neighbors, Trump blinked." Well, that guy should be fired so fast. That is the opposite of the truth. That's like, John F. Kennedy drove through Dealey Plaza today, and he pulled out a rifle and shot Lee Harvey Oswald in the head as he drove by. Well, that's the opposite of what happened. And this is the opposite of what happened as well. But that's what CNN is reporting. I went and I looked up this guy's articles. I went to his page with CNN, and the guy couldn't be more full of it. It's almost amazing how awful CNN is, and they perfectly represent the rest of the media, too.